Hi, I'm Melanie from Parenting High Schoolers, and I'm here today to talk about your teen and their downtime, their alone time, their solitude. As they become teenagers, even almost in those preteen years, they start to have a need for solitude. And that's a totally normal, natural, and healthy thing. As parents, it's frustrating because all of a sudden the door is shut and all of a sudden they're shutting us out and all of a sudden they don't want to be with us like they used to be. But if you think about it, when they're little, the times that you went almost crazy was when they were like, mommy, 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 and you can't have any alone time. You needed it as a mom and they need it as a teen. So I'm here today to talk to you about some ways that it can be healthy and that we can give it to them but have limits. And hi, I'm Melanie from Parenting High Schooler. I would love if you would subscribe to my channel. I have lots of videos about parenting teens. Let's think about what they need solitude for. Teens need time to dream. They need time to think. They need time to figure out solutions to the problems they're having, or think about an assignment that's coming up from school even and create whatever that product is going to be in their head. Now, solitude does not mean, and downtime does not mean playing on their games, because that's not alone. Most games that at least that I know my boys play are with their friends. So I'm talking about the time that they are alone. Now, there is a way to do this that is going to be a compromise that can make your teen happy and that you will be okay with it. And that is by limiting that time. So when it first starts happening, and I'm going to, looking back, it's hard for me to remember, but I'm going to say 12, 13, they're going to start to want to have time with themselves. And so our rule was, absolutely, you can do that. Your door can be closed for an hour. But at that point, the door has to be open. You can still stay in your room, but the door is open. So that gives them an hour of privacy to do whatever it is that they want to do. Think about things, work on a project, lay on their bed. One thing I would highly encourage you to do, at least in the beginning, is not let them have their phone in there if they already have a phone. If I had the perfect world, I would say teenagers don't need a phone until much later than this, but that's a conversation for another day. What I'm saying is maybe half of the time, half of those days, they do not have their phone, if not even more. Maybe they can have their phone in there twice a week during their hour. But nothing good's going to happen, if behind a closed door with a phone. Nothing. So there's no reason. And part of being alone is they need to think through issues that they're having at school, friends, us, their parents, with their siblings. And it's time for them to decompress, to sort through the feelings of their day. There may be friendship issues. They may be dealing with something that they want to tell us, but they haven't figured out what or how they're going to say it. So that's part of that need for the solitude. I'm going to look at my list here. So in history, here's a little lesson for you. Historically, if you were a boy, you were probably out in the woods tromping around hunting or gathering, nuts or berries. You were helping your parents. You were surviving, but you had time alone. You were walking around in the woods. You were plowing the field back and forth and back and forth. And there was no YouTube and there was no Spotify. You just had time to think. If you were a girl, obviously there was no Spotify for you either. And you were gathering the water and you sewing a quilt or baking the bread. A lot of these activities would have, maybe not so much the girls because they might have been with their mom. And some of the things that the boys did, they would have done with their dad. But historically, a lot of the chores that these kids did were on their own. And they had that time to sort through feelings that they might have had. And obviously, they were not dealing with what the things that our kids are dealing with. But again, it was a built-in way for them to be alone. I think we forget that these kids do need this time. A great thing for you to encourage your child to do while they are having their downtime, their alone time, is to turn on some music or to maybe play an instrument. I had one son that just would sit in his chair and pick on his guitar, and he would watch YouTube videos and try to learn songs and just think through whatever was on his mind. They need to figure out what they're going to do when they do have time on their own. I did a video last week about hobbies for teens, and this is a great time for them to work on something like this. If they have a woodworking project, maybe they do their alone time in in your garage or wherever your table saw is, or whatever it is that they use for their wood crafts. So I want to encourage you to give your kids their space, their solitude, Encourage them, give your teen the space they need to sort through emotion, to sort through whatever is on their mind in a time of their own. And don't crowd in on them. Don't push and ask what's the matter or why do you want to be alone. It just is. It's just a fact. And as they are developing into a more mature adult, they need time to sort through all this stuff. I would encourage you to ask them if there's anything that they would like to do during their time alone. You know, would they like a less expensive sort of guitar? Could you guys work on them helping you pay for one? Maybe they could start a hobby. Maybe get them an adult coloring book, because a lot of times with a set of colored pencils, that's just a kind of a nice, relaxing, listen to music and just chill. So I know a lot of the kids that I teach, my middle schoolers, complain that they don't ever get time to be by themselves, that they have to be with their siblings or they have to be doing their chores or whatever. And of course, I know a lot of that is exaggeration, but I also know how important this time is to them. And when we give it to them it is like a gift. So give your teen the gift of solitude and just know that if they're listening to music, if they're playing an instrument, if they're just lying on their bed, it's okay. It's up to them what they do with that time. But limit it to an hour with the door closed and really limit the technology. I really highly recommend limiting the technology. So if you liked this video, please follow my channel below and like my video. Thanks. See you next week.